Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Zoo. This is a panel discussion where we're going to talk about issues relating to modern technology, whether it's related to BMC, our personal life, or things that we don't even know about. We will touch upon it here. With me to help solve some of these mysteries, all the way from Wales, is Chris Rickson.
Hello.
Hi, Chris. And down in Los Angeles, the City of Stars, Jeff Maloney.
Hello, everybody.
So, Chris, you have been deeply involved in a project we have here at BMC Software around digital transformation. This is a term we've seen before, but it really coming to maturation. It's really find its place in our lives and our work. Can you share a little bit with us what you see as examples of digital transformation today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think you're right. The first thing is kind of not new. We've had this language for a little while. There's some truth to that. But what you're seeing is the rate of digitization. And what I mean by that is the amount of traditional business activities that now are dependent on or have a very significant component of digital technology has just exploded. And in fact, CIO magazine and other bodies are actually measuring rates of digitization by industry, and that makes it fascinating as well. And by the way, automotive's number one. So the way we buy cars and the way that whole business runs is becoming much more digital. So that's kind of interesting. But if you think about digital transformation as, you know, as I said earlier, how much of the traditional activities, and I hate the phrase chain, but I'm going to use it anyway, the things that happen in an organization, more of that is not only integrated together, but is utterly dependent on the digital technology working. And so that's clearly of interest to us, because if you think about what BMC does, we're all about keeping digital technology operating, optimized, easily accessible, things you would expect for us. So that's the essence of digital transformation.
Hey, Chris, is it digital transformation in the sense that it's digital for the company itself, or it's digital how they're interacting with their customers or the consumers that they work with?
Both. I think that's the fascinating part of it. If you look at a lot of the studies that are going on around digital transformation, what it means in concrete terms, there are relationships that are being digitized. So the expectation that you can now do pretty much all of the customer's life cycle, buying something, support, all that kind of thing, all of that supported by multi-channel digital technology these days, but also more and more technology, business processes and things that not necessarily have been reliant on computer infrastructure before. So it's so all-encompassing. I think that's why people are calling this a paradigm shift, and that's the most overused phrase in history ever. But this might actually be.
Yeah. Well, last week I was at the BMC Engage, the first user conference we had in, I guess, a decade or so, and two things struck me. One is how interested people are in this digital transformation. They understand that there's something that is important to them and something they in their industry need to really embrace. Second thing that was important is how few people really understood, not only understood, but had started to work on it. They didn't know what to do really. Like, so how do I do this digital transformation? How do I rubber stamp something, say, oh, this is part of a digital transformation, which is a little bit scary to me, because shouldn't IT already be digital? And that's not the case, obviously. But is there some easy way for a company of ours, or a customer of ours, to begin this journey, to become more digital, become more modern, if you will?
Yeah, I think there is. And I'll caveat everything I say with the fact that clearly we focus on one part of this transformation, right? So we sell solutions that support IT management. Now, but it turns out that IT management is really having its day in the sun, right? All of a sudden, because infrastructure and the relationships between business consumers and IT providers is so much more critical and so much more visible, Well, it turns out that the things that we've worried about for some time, like stability, agility, the efficiency of equipment, having an intuitive way of working with IT as business users, are front and center of everybody's agenda on both sides of this equation, right? So IT management is in the spotlight, and I think that's interesting. But there is a way to break it down. It's sort of interesting looking at the formal aspects of how you might do that. You can look at the BMC.com, articulate what we think is important. But I think that for most organizations, it's about taking stock of what they're already doing, because a lot of it I think is in place, but doing a inventory of how lives of the people that they support have changed and what their expectations are, right? So more people in the course that they support, for example, operate from very diverse mobile devices, for example. What does that mean for your system management strategy? What are the implications? And a good way to get to that and frame that discussion is to look at the experience that we have right now. Right, so that's a kind of the experiential side of things, thinking about some of the more contemporary approaches. It's actually some of the more traditional industrial activities of IT have become even more important. Fascinating twin requirement of having to drive innovation, innovative technology to support a different way of working, and by the way, you have to do things with a great deal more speed, efficiency, etc., and stability. So some of the more traditional IT operations management tenets have gone from being interesting just to us to being extremely important. So taking a more industrial approach to how you actually deliver services as well is the other part of that equation.
Yeah. One company who's always been ahead in digital transformation is Salesforce.com, a partner of ours. And we had Dreamforce, their big user conference last week as well. Jeff, you told me about a Mayday button they're unleashing.
Yeah, there was I don't want to say a new concept, but a concept that they are embedding in their Service Cloud, which is their customer service and support application that's very similar to what Kindle has for when somebody needs customer support. You can hit a Mayday button on the Kindle device, and there you have a one-way view into a support representative to sort of help you through with whatever you need on the Kindle. The Service Cloud has that same capability. So now when you're using the Service Cloud, if you're a customer, and the customers of those customers can hit that Mayday button, and then they can have access into the call center, the customer service center that's using Service Cloud. So they'll do that sort of one-way feed so that you can understand and have that sort of experience that Chris was talking about, a modern type experience versus just the old sort of traditional over-the-phone kind of experience, or sending an email in or some other form-based thing on a web portal to get service itself. So it was this new sort of digital service now that they're providing, in my opinion, a more friendly way of getting service from a company that you need help with.
Yeah. We're sitting on two sides of technology now. I think it's a very interesting time right now. We have a change from the old to the new, and this whole transformation to modern technology or digital transformation. And then on the other hand, we have almost revolt against this onslaught of technology. If you don't have an iPad, you're barely a human being now. If you're not texting, then you're not relevant. And so that starts to manifest itself in various places. Chris, tell us about the no phone.
Yeah, I think this has to be my favorite invention of 2014, or something when it comes out. I came across the no phone via Kickstarter, which I'm a big fan of. You know, if you do that, it's a site where entrepreneurs can go to raise money or crowdsource funding for ideas they have, and you vote it, and you send your money in, and if they get enough money, they go ahead and build a project. So the no phone was on Kickstarter. It is in essence a lump of plastic, and it doesn't do anything at all, but it is shaped an awful lot like a very famous brand of phone that might come out of Cupertino, somewhere like that. And I love this thing because it talks about, you go ahead, look at the Kickstarter video, it's hilarious, it tells you all the things it can't do. It's camera, it's selfie capabilities, the ability to stick on an mirror on the front, which I think is absolute genius. There are no network charges, etc. There's all sorts of things, but so I love this thing. I think it's genius. But I think the very serious point is it's kind of pointing at an undercurrent, as you said, of reaction to technological overload. I think many people feel, and I guess it very much depends when, or maybe it doesn't. But those of us who remember a time when it just wasn't available, I think the digital Sabbath movement. People who don't want to connect on certain days of the week, and people who just out from being documented all the time. So it really, as you know, I've got a strong anti-technology streak in me. So I love the iPhone.
Which is always refreshing. And then down in Hollywood, we have the selfie phone.
Yeah, I'll one up you on your no phone. We have the selfie phone, or not we down in Hollywood, but there's the big trend is the selfie phone, where you're no longer using the phone for actually the phone and the communication. You're using a phone, which these days is the size of my laptop. It's just a little bit thinner, and to do one thing, which is just to take selfies and post selfies on whatever social media channel of choice that you have. So I can one up you on your no phone. At least my phone, we can take the photos with and communicate the photos. But what I want to do is take these selfie phones, because they have such a huge screen device, and I want to now embed the old rotary phone. So now, rather than typing in the numbers or punching in the numbers, you actually have a rotary phone where you can go and do that. What we do when you're
Before you know it, we'll be back to studying, and we'll be back to where we started.
Yeah, my 12-year-old daughter, she has an old-fashioned typewriter, an old-fashioned gramophone, and she the other day saw a Rolodex in this old book. We go to this used bookstore. And it wasn't for sale, it was what the guy used. I mean, this place is about to fall apart. It's so old and nasty. And she asked me, is that where you keep phone numbers and stuff like that? I said, yeah. It's called a Rolodex. It's what we had before we had phones. And she said, oh, I need to have one of those. So we got her one. And then she transcribed all her contact from the iPhone into the Rolodex by hand. I don't know.
Yeah. I like her style, I think.
Is she also asking you to buy a bunch of vinyl rather than digital music?
Yes, and it costs a fortune. I mean, it's $10-15 a record. You can get cheaper ones, but if you want a good, like Sgt. Pepper, it's over $20 if you want to get it. So it's a rarity, and unfortunately, she really fell in love with it. She's starting to build quite a collection. A lot of Elvis. But anyway, thank you very much, guys, for coming, and for you out there, take care, be safe. Bye-bye.